So what is love? So love to me in the ultimate sense is the sense of being. It's the I amness. It's presence. Love is presence, is that we are, this is. So what is the I am? Well, when you were born, before you knew anything about yourself, before you knew your age, before you knew your name, before you knew your body, there was a sense of being, the sense of aliveness. And as that baby that looked out at the world, that baby didn't know that it was inside the body, or outside the body, or had a center, or didn't have a center, or infinity, or finite. It just was. It was just experiencing, and it had this alive presence that was about it. And this I am is always there. When you begin to identify and you begin to take a name and begin to believe you're your past and that you're your future and the things that you're going to get and the things that you have, when you begin to identify with that, there is still the same presence, the same sense of isness that you are, that this is. In the background, there's this beaming, alive presence. And this presence is love. And it doesn't belong inside the body. The whole world is appearing in that presence. Like if you look around now, is there anything that isn't present in your experience, or is it all present? Is it all here? Is it all happening? And it's all happening as that love, as that isness, that this is happening. And that's not a conscious thought, that's not something you think about, it's the way it is. This is. I am. Not I as in I am someone, I as that mysterious I. And this presence is in the sensation. So you think you're sitting on this seat and you're feeling this seat and you're sitting in this chair and you're looking at the world, but actually the looked at and the looking are the same thing. The feeling and the felt are the same thing. The hearing and the heard are the same. It's only in your mind that can divide that there is a division that says, I'm hearing. But in the actual experience, if there's a dropping into complete innocence of what's happening, there is only experiencing happening, and experiencing is everything. There isn't somebody that's in relationship to experiencing. Experiencing is everything and everywhere. Like in this moment, this is everything. This moment is everything. And you didn't come into this moment. This moment is all there ever is. Even if you get up and run downstairs and run out of the front door, it's still this present moment. It's still what's happening. And it's alive. It's happening. I am. This is. And that's love. That is love. That this is. And you never get out of experiencing. Never. There's never a way out of experiencing. There is simply experiencing happening. And that experiencing is love. And you don't come to experiencing, you don't come to this present moment. It's only ever this present moment. It's not like you walked into the present moment, you were out of the present moment and then you walked into it. It's always the present moment, it's always presence. There is nothing but presence. That's the experience, is presence, is this. And then there's thinking about past, there's thinking about future. There's a belief that you are someone going through time and somebody that's happy or sad or angry or got this story or that story or likes this or doesn't. But all of that's happening in presence. Presence is the part that always stays the same. It never stops. I am never stops. Love never stops. And where is the beginning of presence and the end of presence? In this experience, where does your experience stop and the world begin? Where is the division between you and world? Not you as a person or an idea, but you as as presence, as experiencing. Or is it just one experience? And in that experience, there's thoughts about somebody. There's an energy that makes it feel like somebody's inside the body having an experience. But that person is something that comes and goes in presence. Comes and goes in this experience. And it's always changing, the thought of you, the idea of you, the feeling of you. You have this story, you have that story, you like this, you like that, but presence is here. And presence has another side to it. Presence is conscious of itself. So there's presence and there's also simultaneously this consciousness that this is happening. This recognition that it's happening. So there's the presence and there's the recognition that it's happening. And this presence and this recognition are one and the same thing. But often non-duality teachers teach it so there's presence and then there's the consciousness, the recognition. And the recognition comes prior to the presence. But they're two sides of the same coin. So this empty looking has another quality to it, and this presence has it as well, because they're right there together, presence and this empty looking. But where does the presence and the empty looking come from? Like, what is that empty looking, which is also presence? You can't really separate them out. But where does presence and the sense of I am come from? Can you find a place in this? Is there a place where either of those come from? We sometimes think as consciousness back here, and maybe I am in the heart. But eventually you'll come to the realization that they come from no place. That everything is appearing as nothing, and nothing is appearing as everything. And it's experiencing itself. And this nothing isn't something blank and horrible. This nothing is potential possibility. This nothing is is something beyond this world, is what we call God, the X factor, the mystery. We don't know what it is. It's not nothing as in like, oh, the void, the dark, black hole, death. It is in nothing as in like, holy fuck, this is experiencing itself. And we don't know what that is on the thinking level, but yet we are it. And it's total and utter mystery. It's beyond anything in this world, not a thing in this world. It's beautiful. So this is nothing appearing as everything. You could also say this is consciousness and the I am. So this is conscious presence. And this conscious presence is not a thing and everything. The consciousness is all things. There's not even consciousness which is separate from all things. The consciousness is all things, and all things are no thing. I know this is like really crazy making for the brain, but don't worry about it. Just follow the energy of it and eventually it will become clear. You can't really understand it. That's why all of us teachers contradict each other when we put it into words. And I'm always changing the way I say it because it's so hard to say it. I'm pointing to something which cannot be spoken of because it's prior to the words. The words are appearing in this moment, but yet the moment is here. Almost like the words are appearing in time, but they're not really, they're appearing here, but our mind remembers what came before and puts them in a timeline so we can understand and comprehend and communicate. It's amazing. It's such a mystery. This is not a depressing message. Some people think it's nihilistic, but it's not at all. This is talking about infinite possibility. This is talking about total and utter mystery, like a child, absolute wonder. That this is being experienced, but we don't know by who, we don't know why, but yet that experiencer is us and is home and is free and is all things and no thing. This is what the Buddhists talk about, the Christians, the Jewish people, Islam. Who else have we got? The Hindus, Jainism, Jains, I don't know what you call them, Jains. The Sikhs, it's in every religion and philosophy as well. It's in Shakespeare. It's it becoming known in so much TV as well. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So that's what love is. Love is your essence, and I don't have it any more than you do. Everybody is that empty looking. That looking that's not a thing and in all things, and that presence, that I am love. And as it begins to be seen more clearly, the consciousness isn't conscious of the I am. They're one and the same thing. If it was conscious of the I am, it would be separate. So they sometimes say that consciousness is, I am is the first thing that comes into manifestation through the body, but it's not the case. The more you go into it, you see that they're the same. They're two sides of the coin. The I am is love, is the everything. And you could say the consciousness is the emptiness, but the consciousness is also everything, and the I am is also nothing. They're here, right now. This moment is all. This moment is still and in movement. This moment is silent and loud. Feel it. It's love. As it begins to be sensed, it's like feeling in line with what is, because that's the way it is. And then to suffering. Then we've got this human that believes it's separate and builds a whole life on the idea of separation and the idea of it being in relationship with life. And this is the world of suffering, like intense suffering. I'm not saying that suffering is the end of pain. Pain is part of being and experiencing, and pleasure is part of being and experiencing. But then there's this added on suffering dynamic, where the human believes it's separate and believes that it has pleasure and pains and it exists inside the body. And from that, it begins to get very bizarre ideas about life that are very out of line with life. And as it gets more and more out of line with life, it feels more and more uncomfortable. It's like the more you're in line with life, the more the human just flows and is comfortable. But as it grows this separate idea and this separate entity, it's sort of the body and everything begins to come out of line. The person begins to believe in all these things that aren't true, and it often becomes incredibly negative. It gets into a way of hate, of believing really hateful things, that it's somebody's fault, that it's my fault, that I'm guilty, that they're guilty, like that these things are really true. It's not that the human isn't meant to have imprints of these, but it's this belief in it being so true and real, that life can really hurt you, that you're born and that you die. All of these are mental constructs that we as humans make up and sell to each other. It's not true that you die. And it's not true all these negative things that you're told about death. We're told all these terrible stories about death. We're never taught to appreciate and respect death. Death is like a journey into the unknown. Death is actually what we're living with all the time. We're always in this space of unknown, of not knowing. And so how can we really appreciate this moment? How can we really appreciate the mystery of what is when we're so terrified of this event called death in the future? When death is really our friend. Not our friend as in like, let's all have mass suicide. I don't mean that. Could sound a disaster. I mean as in, death is love. Like when you die, I'm not saying that anyone should die prematurely, you've got to live out this life, but in the moment of death, you dissolve back into love, into who you are. Like death isn't this scary thing where you get judged and you might go to heaven or hell. Death is freedom from everything in this life. Death is love. Death is adventure. Death is mystery. Death is not knowing. And how can we really respect life if we're rejecting its opposite, which is death? And ultimately there is no death. There's the end of the particular person, so there's an end of something. But as we know in this life, when we look round, end never ends. There's always a rebirth into something else. It just transforms into something else. Imagine if we were born into a society that really respects life and death and talked about death positively. On the human level, we'd have such a different perspective on life. But because we're taught these separate entities, we're taught to be terrified of death because that means the end of us. That means the end of our life, the end of this, and it's a bad thing, and it's terrible suffering, and awful this and awful that. So what happens with this separate person is, it's not that there shouldn't be an imprint of a person, like these bodies have an imprint, a character of a person. So all of us are meant to have a character. So it's not that's the problem, it's the attachment to it. And from that deep attachment to it, all these weird and wonderful, they are wonderful as well, all these weird ideas appear about who you are and the meaning of your life and the purpose of your life and what you should do and what you shouldn't do. And what you should be and what you shouldn't be. about being happy in these 80 years of life that you've got. You've got to be happy all the time, that you've always got to get on with people. And you've got 80 years to live, and you've got to do all these things in these 80 years, be all these things, accomplish everything. And we pick up all types of ideas. A lot of people, lots of negative ideas. So I feel like what has to happen on the human level is reconditioning to an extent, to become more in line with the natural flow of being human. So there's a flow. The human steps more into flow on the human level, rather on resistance or hatred or fear or hiding. I'm not saying that any of us have to be the perfect person, but to be more in flow with yourself, to feel more like you're lining up with yourself on the human level. And as that happens, then there's this possibility to see something else, that none of that's who you are. If you're really suffering and really dense about your views and yourself and in lots of pain, then the seeking's too strong. There's too much attention on you and your problems. As that person relaxes and becomes more happy, becomes more balanced, then there's the seeing that you are way beyond that. Who you are is everything, is the divine, is mystery. And to become a balanced human, it's the end of seeing that the end of seeking for that love of who you are, for that love of presence in time, in things. So it's not the end of the person having goals or ambition or drive. It's the end of the person believing that any of those pleasures, any of life's pleasures, will give you what you're looking for. What you're always truly looking for is the I am presence, is that empty looking. So it's seeing that that's what you're looking for, that's everything you've always wanted. And then a balanced human being is someone that has goals, has ambition to do things, has a structure to its life, gets out of bed every day, does things, lives a life. So in Zen they would say, chops wood and builds a fire. Like before enlightenment, chop wood and build the fire. After enlightenment, chop wood and build the fire. So it's like it's not like the end of seeking. Some people begin to take this message and they think, okay, it's the end of seeking. That means I just have to sit on the sofa and any goal or ambition I have is ego. That's not true. That's not true. I have lots of goals throughout the day. I have to wash the body. I have to go to the toilet. I have to get Khaleesi up, although normally she is like, come on, walk me now. So Khaleesi gets me up. We have to go for our hour-and-a-half walk every day. That's just one of the walks. I normally go for 2 walks with her. So I normally do about 2 hours of exercise a day if we're not bike riding, but she might be too old now for bike riding. Oh, can you hear the name walk? Can you hear walk? Huh? So that's the first part of the day. And while I'm walking, for half of that walk, I have to do French class on my phone. Put it on speaker, and I have to learn my French because I have to speak French. I'm trying to think of French sentence to impress you with, but suddenly I go blank. Je voudrais une chambre pour 2 personnes pour 2 nuits avec douche, s'il vous plaît. See, here we go. I'm nearly there. I can say sentences. And I can begin to understand people. But okay, so we do 45 minutes of that while I'm walking. And then if I do my 45 minutes, I'm then allowed to listen to music for 45 minutes. That's my treat for the walk. Then we do our shopping while we're out, if we've got any shopping to do. Then we come home and then we do emails and reply to people. And then normally I have a project I'm working on. It's always changing, the project. Last 3 months of last year, I wrote a new script, a whole new script, 120-page script. So that was my project. That finished at Christmas. And this year, I had to do my French tax returns. At the end of last year, I had to do my English tax returns and the French tax returns, and that was all new, so that was quite hard. Then I had to re-update my website and booking system. So I do my project. And then normally in the afternoon and evening, not every day, but a few of the days, I then have sessions with people. If I don't have that, then I have other things that I have to do. Like I'm renovating my house. I do meditation with a friend. I have 2 lessons of French class a week. Socialise, sometimes going out for dinner. Then I have to do Khaleesi's afternoon walk as well. Cook, clean. Speak to family. I do travel as well. Organise retreats. Organise talks. Work out technical stuff like for YouTube and all these other things. There is so many things, and obviously I have to do a certain amount of watching TV a day. I do like watching things like on YouTube or Netflix, and information I like taking in. So all these things, so you can see, and then I like to sit, I like to do meditation. And I'm also like to do things slowly as well, even though it sounds like I can't possibly do things slowly because I have so much to do. So I'm not talking in any way, this is about sitting on the sofa and not doing things. And I emphasize that because I sometimes think that people get into this subject, they already are in a place of not doing things, and then they like it because it validates that, or they listen to this and then begin to get into this place of not doing things. Sometimes it's important to do that. It's important to like let go of like huge ambitions and focus more on yourself. But even when I was doing that really intensely for 3 years in Australia, I also redesigned all of the garden and taught myself to garden and taught myself to grow vegetables. I was growing things from seeds. So when I needed to take time off, I did, but then when that energy had gone, I then got back onto my projects. It's important as human to have projects and have things to work towards. This is what we do in life. That's not ego, that's life of a human. Is that we have these things we work towards bit by bit every day. Our suffering comes from the belief that once we arrive at the end of that project, we will get what we're looking for. Once we obtain that lover, once we grow the garden, once we write the book or whatever it is, we will arrive and we will get love. And that's what makes our seeking so desperate. And that's what creates all these bizarre ideas, because we're constantly pedaling to get somewhere. So that's not working towards things. If you have that energy, then it's always about moving on, getting. when you, like I have no desire to complete the day. I'm so happy with my days. Like, I'm excited to wake up. I'm excited to do my things during the day. Sometimes I'm tired and I have emotions and I'm upset, but I never want it to go. I never want to get anywhere. I just have my little things like boop, 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 boop. There's never, I love what I do. I love what I'm doing. Even if I'm sad, which can arise, even if I have to go to bed because my heart hurts about something, or because somebody said something that upset me, or something happened that was upsetting, I love what I'm doing. I don't want to get out of this. When that seeking energy is really there and you believe that you're someone separate and that you're going to arrive home, you're always trying to get out of yourself. You're always trying to get somewhere. You're always wanting the time to go. I remember when I was younger, I used to look at it in units of time, like how to pass the day. Khaleesi? Okay. Okay, we'll take some questions now. Oh yeah, so we're back to Valentine. So love in the flow is the love for what you're doing. It's like when you're making the tea, you're making the tea. When you're walking the dog, you're walking the dog, although I'm learning French simultaneously. But I'm totally involved in that. And then I don't exactly want the French learning to end, but I get my treat of the music at the end. But it's like, that's what I'm doing, even if it is painful. Like learning French can be a little painful sometimes. It can also be really pleasurable. Like you're sitting at the table, this is it, baby. You don't ever get to get anywhere in life. Even though as a human, we act as if we are going somewhere and we're like moving this earth to this earth and this bit to this bit and this bit over here and we never really get anywhere. This is it. This is it. And you go round and round in your little circles. I'm not trying to make out that I'm some sort of saint, you know, like I don't like it when it rains and I have arguments with people, but that's what's happening. This is the life. This is what's happening. There is nowhere to go. There's only relative where to go. We work towards this. We build the house. We get a bigger house. We get a smaller house. We get a bigger house, smaller house, more money, less money. We do it like this. We do it like that. And the more that you live from that point, the more that you'll do things you love as well. And the more that the human will become more and more positive. Like I would say I'm a pretty positive person. You maybe think you know me because you do these talks and you see me. But if you look at me in my life, like if I'm reporting back to you, I'm pretty positive about what I'm reporting back. Like my mind is becoming more in line with life. Like I can be negative and I can see sad things sometimes. But the mind gets more and more balanced and sees more and more beauty and good things in life. When you're seeking and when you believe that you're going to get it, you're going to get love in the next person, in the next lover, in the next thing, when the mind is constantly thinking about that, it kind of feels victim to life. It feels like it's not got something and that thing has, and it's not fucking giving it to me. When's this person going to give it to me? When's she going to do this? When he did, and it kind of goes around in a victim state of lack. And there is no lack in this. Look, here's everything. Here's presence. I'm not saying that life can't be tough sometimes, because obviously all of us are going to die. All bodies are going to disappear into the ground and transform into something else. But really, it's, well, from my perspective, it's a place of giving. Like life gives, I give. And I don't have too much attachment to what I want or what I get. So therefore, it's all a treat. It's like, woohoo! And I've noticed more and more after this seeing and this awakening, the mind gets more and more positive. And anything that's left that's still negative or out of line gets challenged. Like I still have thoughts, I think, and ideas that are out of line, that aren't so in line with the natural flow and the natural order of being human. Like I was conditioned for so many years to think out of line. But I feel like life keeps bringing up those issues, so those issues can be seen and can be let go of and be exposed. And more I can grow into myself. And then as you grow into yourself, you kind of get into your flow. Okay, let's see where the questions are. So love is what is. And if you want to really love someone, or if you want to know if you really love someone on the human level, and all of us can go in and out of all these different things, but like if the majority of the time this comes up is that when you pick your partner's growth every time over holding on to them and making them yours, that's when you know that you're in flow in a relationship. And sometimes those things can come out of balance, like something could be said or something could be done, but generally there's that sense that you want your partner to grow and to flourish and to love, and you pick that over anything, over having them, over keeping them, over anything.